Linus Tech Tips has some problems, and specifically I'm talking about GamersNexus and Steve's video. I'm not going to review everything here, and I just kind of wanted to go over the basic points of that video because there's a lot to unpack here and also add some things that I'm concerned about from Linus and also bigger YouTube channels that I think the world at large should probably know about. So let's get right into it. Over here is just a summary of Steve's video at GamersNexus. It's a lot. It's a lot of problems that Linus and team is just going to have to deal with, and hopefully he owns up to some of this stuff and just kind of comes up and says, hey, I messed up, I understand, and move on. But the big thing I see as the number one issue for him is rushing videos. Everybody at LTT is great. It's just a lot of times mistakes happen because of deadlines and the rushed videos. Him having a big team, I don't know if he can afford not to publish a video if it's a bad sponsor. I've had a sponsor where I've taken money and then I started reviewing the product. I'm like, this product sucks. I'm not going to say who it was from, but it was enough for me to go, here's your money back. I can't do this video, which sucks because it pretty much ruins the relationship. And I just spent a week on a video that no longer exists. So that does happen, but yeah, hopefully you vet your sponsors really well and make videos about things that you actually like. Hey, this is a good product. I've learned my lesson on that. But there's times where I think it falls, especially in Linus's case, where they just publish a video because of that. The next thing is probably like the bad data, like GPU review errors, CPU cooler test errors, PSU review errors, CPU reviews that were problematic or had erroneous stats in them. That's rough. I mean, it just is. But I understand from the breakneck pace that LTT follows why that happens, where GamersNexus really showed every single case of that, that he found. Now, there's probably more out there that he missed, but GamersNexus was pretty thorough in his 40-minute takedown, really, of it. And he did show many errors that Linus and team had in their videos, which is concerning, especially since they're moving into LTT Labs, which I'll get more into that in some major problems I see in that realm. But a lot of people had a huge problem with the Billet Labs portion of the GamersNexus. If you're not familiar, there was a water block from Billet Labs that got sent that was specific to a 3090. LTT didn't have a 3090, so they just slapped it on a 4090, which anybody that's ever done any kind of water block knows you can't just change the model of the graphics card on your water blocks. They're made specifically for that. There's different chip orientation, a whole bunch of different things that really, like, what the hell? Like, how'd that video even get made? And again, it alludes to the fact that there's just a schedule, and damn it, they're going to publish a video, whether it's good or bad. It just gets published. Just make it as entertaining as possible. And then hopefully nobody calls you out too much for it. And if they do, there's a couple little things that they have that us smaller channels don't have, such as drop-in replacement. If Linus wanted to, he could literally just drop in a replacement video in that, where, let's say I make a really bad video, which has happened, especially when I was publishing a lot. I made a terrible video that I remember I had to go back and delete, even though it was like in my top 10 viewed videos, which it hurt. But a good example of what you should do, and kind of how some of these bigger channels can get away with either replacing and gaslighting and saying that never happened and just replacing the video so they don't have that massive loss in revenue that smaller channels would. But again, this is one of those things, and that is just unfortunate. And then there's the ethical violations and favoritism. Framework laptops, how do they do a good review of the laptop that they are an owner in? I mean, a partial owner in. That's rough. You have Asus Favoritism, their new LTT Labs director, who used to be the marketing director, a senior marketing director of Asus from like 12 plus years. I could see conflicts of interest there in a multitude of different ways. Then you have like Noctua screwdriver. I think Steve alluded to that in the video, where they Noctua sponsored a LTT screwdriver, and then I don't know if it was like, hey, we're going to give you a favorable review, but obviously a bias exists with those types of deals. And I think that happens a lot on YouTube. But as far as Linus's response here, He caught a response. I'll put it up over here on LTT forums over on Linus Tech Tips. And basically, he was mad at Steve for doing the video and not contacting him privately, which I get. But at the same time, hey, Steve definitely burned that bridge publishing that video. Holy crap. It was pretty like, eesh. I think a lot of I hang out on Discord with a lot of other YouTubers, and they were the ones that published the video initially. And I looked at it, I was like, whew, that's pretty bad. And a lot of them were like, yeah, I really wish there was nothing there and it was just a giant nothing burger. But, you know, Steve always brings the receipts. Man, I hope that guy never reviews one of my videos. You know, most of my stuff's pretty tutorial based, so it's kind of hard to screw up. But if I was doing product reviews, and I've done a couple, that's a rough business. And you know, but also he said, you know, we're a big company, we're growing really fast, we make mistakes, and that's a lot of that huge fast pace we already talked about. 25 videos a week, just constantly churning it out, massive overhead with multiple buildings, 120 employees. It's just a lot to take in. And then he said basically in the billet video, hey, it was a crappy product. Even if I tested it on the proper product, it still would have been a crappy product at $900. No one was going to buy it. It was such a niche thing. And to that, I'm like, man, that's kind of messed up. Why the hell did you even take the product or agree to do the video in the first place? And I think he didn't. He just got pigeonholed into it because someone in his staff screwed up. And he was just like, well, we've already invested a week of time. We can't afford to lose that revenue. Let's just publish the video. That is pretty bad in a lot of different ways. And the fact that he wouldn't even go back and fix it after the fact kind of makes me scratch my head. I'm like, wait, you spent millions of dollars on a whole lab situation, but you wouldn't spend $500 fixing a video. Like, how does someone ever trust you? And why the hell did you spend all that money on the labs if that's your mentality? That's a big issue. That's probably my sticking point. I would much rather trust a more independent person like GamersNexus than a LTT Labs big corporation run by a marketing director. So that's just my take on that. Let me give you my personal thoughts, though, of this whole back and forth with GamersNexus and LTT. First off, Linus and the whole media group is just that. It's a media group. They're there for education, but mostly there for entertainment. And that's most of, you know, Linus's wheelhouse. You know, you go to a 40-minute GamersNexus video and you don't watch all his videos mainly because you're not looking to buy that product a lot of times. And Steve can tend to ramble on with some of those 40-minute videos, but at the same time, it's like, damn, it shows you every spec, everything you want, a good breakdown. And that just isn't Linus's bag. So I get it. I get it from that point of view. But that brings me to the next point. Why the hell does LTT Labs even exist? And having gone to LTX and understanding kind of where a lot of the revenue streams, well, I think more than 50% of the revenue stream comes from merch now. So most of his revenue stream comes from viewers buying his merch. And I think Labs is basically gonna amplify that up to where they're gonna build more stuff so they can sell their own products and, you know, obviously make more money. And I think that's the long-term form of Labs. Me personally, I mean, that's a pretty dangerous gamble because I don't think Labs are just there for testing, and I don't know if that's the entire purpose of it. I don't know. Like I said, we'll have to just watch out. To me, it just seems like an awful waste of money. Probably the next thing that really bugs me too about this whole situation is I didn't even know this drop-in replacement thing existed. Like, before someone said something, I didn't know million view channels can just gaslight the hell out of me by putting out a bad video and then just slowly just replacing it on the back end, and you don't even know that the old video and the incorrect things were even said. I mean, what the F? How does that even exist on YouTube? That's concerning on a whole different level. And I'm, you know, no hate on Linus on this. I'm just kind of wrapping my brain around it going, dude, kind of makes me trust YouTube a lot less, which I probably should. And probably my final point here is YouTube's a marketing platform. We all have bias. We all take product and different stuff. I mean, for me, being more software based, I don't really have any product that I take. It's all open source and out there for free. Occasionally, I might get a product in. Man, I will say Linus does make some damn good water bottles. LTTstore.com. But the bias does exist when people send us this stuff, you know? You can't help it. So as soon as you take product and you're getting it for free, there's going to be an inherent bias to the review video, which I get. And that does affect people, and it does affect YouTube reviews. To what extent? I don't know. That's really up to the viewers to decide. The best part about YouTube for me is when I screw up, you let me know in the comments, in the like to dislike ratio, even though it's hidden. It's so great. It's such a great platform for a greeter to make. And also we can learn so much. And I think at the end of all this, Linus is going to learn. He's a good guy. He's going to come out. He's going to take ownership of this. He's going to say, all right, yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I screwed up. Yeah, that billet thing, I totally mismanaged and never made that video. We're going to do a better job. We're going to vet these scores a lot better. Hopefully we don't make these mistakes in the future. Maybe they even produce a little bit less videos. Probably can't afford to do that, but I would like to see, that increase in quality while also maintaining that. Although looking at their facilities from the tour I took, man, I mean, he's really bootstrapping a lot of that stuff, and I don't know if they can afford to do that. So if they're not going to do, and they're going to continue just doing what they've always done, they should probably kill a lot of these LTT labs and a lot of this overhead that they're taking in that's not going to bear any fruit and cause an influx of money, because I just don't ever see them to be a super reputable technical source of like a review or something like that, where many of these other channels have been built from the ground up specifically over that. But again, I don't know. I mean, I like Linus. I like Steve over at GamersNexus. I think they're both great guys, and I think they both make great videos. It's just the flavor of video you want to watch. So that's the drama in a nutshell, buttoned up. So now you know. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.